Hello, everyone. It's Sunday once again. Oh my God, I'm so happy today. I know we're still early. It's like 12 minutes till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But because our special drummer guest for today is already here and he's ready and I'm ready, I thought, we're going to start early and do my bit of introduction and then bring him on the show. It's like I said, it's 12 minutes till 2 o'clock in the afternoon here in the UK. So it's 12 minutes till 10 in the evening in Manila. I hope some of you, my dear friends, I know that there's a lot of music fans in Manila who's also fans of The Damned. I hope that you're still up and listening to us. Anyways, yeah, I'm so excited about about today. I think you can tell that I am. And I'm not going to do any more introduction because I just want you to be on the show right now. So, my dear friends, please welcome Mr. Rat Scabies. Yay!
Oh,
Hello.
hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello. I, I always say, when I saw you for the first time at the festival, Stone Valley Festival in Ware,
Mhm.
I was just so surprised. And I didn't know what to say. I said, hello, Mr. Scabies. Do you get a lot of fans asking, calling you Mr. Scabies?
There's a few, not that many though. Most people just call me Rat.
Right. And then I think when you say rat, I said, hello, Mr. Rat. But anyways, so I know that you've just finished the tour. You have been really busy this year.
Mm. Yeah, we've been lots of places: Japan,
Yeah.
Australia, America, Mexico, Germany, France, Belgium. We get around.
Wow. And the best thing that the best news that the damn fans got is that you're back permanently in the
Well,
damn.
yeah, it's good. It's good to be back.
And how how is it? Because
How is it? It's well, it's really very good. I'm you know, first of all, the band are playing great, and everybody, but all the shows we just did, we all, we didn't have any problems on them really. There, a few technical glitches, and as people, we still have great fun.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, we tell jokes and we laugh, and it's a bit, you know, in some ways, I'm relearning about them because I haven't really been with the band for so long. So I'm finding out what they're like and what it was I liked about them in the first place. And I'm pleased to say that they've rather grown into all of their most positive assets.
Well, I'm definitely going to ask you more about how it came about that you got back in the dam later on. But I want to welcome you first to Ask the Drummer. So welcome to Ask the Drummer. Episode 153 is all about you, Rap Scabies. I mean, obviously, it's not your real name. Yeah, but you are, a celebrity name or a stage name is Rat Scabies. So it's um, Christopher John Miller. Was it Miller?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you were born, I mean, these are all from, when I Googled it and everything. So you're born in Surrey. Can you, for us who are from the Philippines, and so can you just tell us a bit what Surrey was like when you were growing up?
Surrey's a very big place, and much of it is very rural and countrified. But the part I was in wasn't. It was a small town called Kingston upon Thames, which was where I was sort of brought up.
Yeah.
And then my parents moved further out into the countryside again. And then, then I just sort of spent the rest of my life trying to get back to London.
Oh, would you say that Surrey is a musical city, like say London or Manchester or Liverpool?
Well, it surrounds a lot of London, and it's also very close to London. I think, where I was is about maybe 4 or 5 miles away from the city. So I think what you have is a lot of musicians like Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, all of those people lived on the edge of the city, which I think means that you're still influenced by what's going on with, like, the music scene is still very current and you're aware of everything that's going on. And then, but at the same time, you're sort of not there. You're on the edge of it. So you don't have the same distractions, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Are you from a musical family? Did you come from a musical family?
not particularly, no. All my family liked music. And so there was often music on and playing. And when I lived with my grandparents, there was always a jazz program that was on a Sunday afternoon.
All right.
That had it was just where I first sort of fell in love with playing the drums, really, because every jazz song has a drum solo. So I just kind of fell in love with the sound of the drums, and it became an obsession.
Has it always been the drums, or did you try and learn how to play other instruments, like guitar or piano?
I love guitars. I think they're great, but they're kind of just all of that stuff. It's just a bit too complicated, I play a little guitar and a little keyboard just because I sort of experiment with them, really, and consequently end up playing things that probably a normal guitarist wouldn't play because they're oversimplified or they're, not proper chords.
Oh,
But if it sounds like music, then it is music.
yeah. That's right. So, how did you get into drumming?
Well, just hearing it on the radio, the drums, and then there was a few shows around, and on TV, and there'd be people like the Dave Clark Five.
All right.
You'd see occasionally, and I was very lucky. I had a small, cheap record player, and I had some records to play on it, and one of them was Sandy Nelson. I think it was Drumming Around the World or Teen Beat or something. And so what became obvious really was, because I had a sort of passion for the drums, was that my parents and grandparents then started to feed that, and so they would get me records with lots of drums on. So I remember having a Glenn Miller album that had Sing on it and stuff. So I was quite lucky, really, that I was allowed access.
And well, did you have a drum kit by that time, or did you go for drumming lessons, or?
Get this coffee before
Yeah.
I'm miserable. No, you couldn't really get drum lessons. I think I got my first I got a toy drum kit when I was about 8 years old, which didn't last very long. But I kept on going, and then I think when I was I must have been about 10 or 11, I got a drum kit, a grown-up one, and I just sort of drove everybody nuts.
So the drum kit was at your house?
Mm-hmm. A very small sort of terraced house, and but I don't know. Everybody was kind of. I don't remember any traumatic. You're making too much noise. Stop that.
Oh yeah.
I think I was, Well,
so everyone was very supportive and letting you practice and letting you learn all the.
Well, yeah, as much as they could stand. You know, but I think that's the toughest thing about being a drummer. Certainly in England, is everything's so small. So if you set the kit up, you like where I am now, I have to use an electric kit here because otherwise they can hear me in the high street. They can hear me at the station. It's just it echoes around the streets, and you end up with gangs of school children outside the house. And things like that. But it's all
Yeah. So, so you didn't have any proper drumming lessons. You just learned it by yourself. And
you couldn't really get them back then. They were all very closely guarded secrets, technique and things. So people didn't really want to share that very much. So I could never find anybody to give me lessons.
I see.
So I just used to listen to records and try and work out what they'd done, and then I would try and do it myself, and and eventually you kind of get there.
Yeah. I know that when I did the guest announcement post, I put something that you're the fastest drummer in punk, and I think I think some people are sort of saying that it's debatable, that maybe it's not.
Well,
but
it depends. It depends what you call fast, and what you're actually counting, and I don't think it really matters that much. But
no.
but I will say there's a point where technique will take over. And there are techniques for sounding incredibly fast, but that's all they are. They're kind of tricks. It's a method, and it sounds very impressive when everybody says, "Oh, isn't that amazing?" But really, it's just another trick that you learn. And I think by far the most important thing is to play a song. So you're giving what the song needs, not trying to impress other drummers, or not trying to think, I could in this bit just because you had that opportunity to do it. So I like to think of what I do is probably a more musical sense. But you don't always get the choice. When Captain plays you the intro to Love Song and you hear the speed that's at, then it's very difficult to not play fast.
Yeah.
But it was never a thing that I set out to achieve or I want to be the fastest. And I've heard people say that sort of thing before, but I think the songs were fast, if anything, and I managed to keep up.
Yeah. Well, before we continue, I just want to say hello to Neil Barker. Neil is my colleague at Kingby Records in Manchester. He said hi, Rat. And also Aidan O'Rourke. He's the sound tech, asked the drummer sound tech, and he said Sound and Vision very good. And New Rose was the first punk record I got into, he said. And Lee Grimshaw, hello Lee, tuned in from Cornwall. So he said hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. So going back to Rat Scabies, because I'm sure that a lot of fans know you as that, not really your real name. So how did you get that name? How old were you when you got that name, Rat Scabies?
It was when I joined when I was jamming with a band called London SS. And I had scabies at the time. So you get very, you itch a lot. And so I was scratching and somebody said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I've got scabies." And then they said there was a rat that ran across the floor, or that they thought I looked like a rat while I was playing. I'd never really been able to figure out which one was true. And then we were all signing on the dole. And so having another name was... being called Rat Scabies and not Chris Miller meant that I could still sign on and claim my dole money and carry on as a musician. And then And there is a third reason, which is also that, I thought what we were doing was so different and so unacceptable to what was the mainstream music in those days. Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Eric Clapton and King Crimson and all of those kind of bands. And the Damned was so far removed from that I thought, well, I'm enjoying it, but I really don't know how long this is going to last. So I thought, well, if I call myself Rat Scabies, then when the bubble bursts in about 6 months and it's all over and everybody's forgotten who we were, then I can go back to being Chris Miller and get a proper job, as a drummer somewhere else.
But you didn't sign on the door using Rat Scabies, did you? Because
no.
So you used Chris Miller, and then
yeah. But
Kath Rhodes said that it's a great nickname and useful too. He said, "Merry Christmas, Rats."
Well, thank you.
Before I got into sort of like the Damned, because when I was researching your drumming history, I came across this band called Masters of the Backside, and apparently Chrissie Hynde was a member of that Masters of the Backside.
Yep, it was a project put together by Malcolm McLaren, and he had Chrissie kind of dressed as a boy with a fringe and leather jacket and stuff, which then was, women just didn't wear those clothes.
Yeah.
It was kind of very taboo almost. And she was just playing guitar and she was just learning. And there were two singers, both called Dave. One was called Dave Zero, who was he was a hairdresser, I think, from somewhere. He was very, very fair and blonde and quite effeminate. And the other Dave was Vanian.
Yeah.
So Malcolm's idea was to have these two opposite figures on stage at the same time as the frontman. And, with Chrissie playing guitar. And we had Captain playing bass for a little while. So that was kind of the Masters of the Backside. That was
This was before Sex Pistols?
Not really, no. It was about the same time. It was.
Right.
It must have been around the beginning of '76, I suppose. 75, late '75, early '76.
Wow. Well, speaking of Chrissie Hynde, I don't know if you have seen that post that she's done, like I think it was a few weeks ago, about their fans. So, if you go regularly, maybe go at the back and just give the local fans a chance.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What do you think of it?
I think somebody's overthought it a bit too much, really. I think it's.
You wouldn't say that to the Damned fans, do you? Because I bet there are lots of the Damned fans who go all the time.
And I will say, hello to there's a small group of Americans that came on the English tour who really, they, it must cost them a fortune to fly over and to pay for hotels and to pay for tickets. But they was always outside the door at 3:00, in the afternoon, and waiting for another 4 hours in the cold and the rain until the doors opened, just so they could be at the front. So they could see what was going on, and they wanted to be there that much. Now, I wouldn't have the heart to tell them, "Can you stand at the back tonight, please?" That it's a devotion above and beyond, really. It's very flattering and it's marvelous. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of get the thing of local people can't see us because we're there, but maybe try a different stage or something, a taller stage or.
I'm glad that you said that, because at least all the fans at the Dam can just go to the front. I mean, queue up early and then be there, and they don't have to feel bad about,
No. And they're not, and I'm, I for one am incredibly glad that they're there, even, just to, I'm very glad that anybody's there, because
Oh,
Well,
wow.
without the audience, there's not much point in the band going on tour or doing any of that stuff. You know,
Yeah.
what
Well,
can
one of
you
the one of your biggest fan is a friend of mine called Steve Watson.
do?
I
Hmm.
think he goes to a lot of the the Damned gigs. So hello to Steve Watson. And also, I got a message from someone called Harriet Kilday, and she said that have loved all the concerts and will follow you all the way to the moon and back. And
Well,
she said that love your music. So, so another band that I found out is I mean, this is you've got so many aliases on Discogs. Your Discogs entry's got like Nick Ratbite, Nick Detroit, and one is Mouse Modern.
hmm,
Again, it's like rat and then mouse. And apparently you're Mouse Modern in a band called Tartan Horde.
yes.
So is that also from the 70s? That's a 70s
Well,
band.
I I hate to spoil it, but I'm not actually on the record.
Oh, I see. All right.
That was it was a record made by Nick Lowe, and it for some obscure reason it became a hit in Japan, and he suddenly had a hit record, but no band. So because I was there, they they took my picture,
Oh,
and
I see.
so that was me, a guy called Rainer Jessen, who was Graham Parker's and the Rumours sound man, Suzanne Spiro, who was the secretary at Stiff, and me and Nick, and that was the Tartan Horde. But
Oh,
it wasn't a real thing. I'm afraid to say.
oh, okay. So it's not one of your. It's not one of the bands that you're.
No, no, not really.
All right. Well, we're gonna go to the Damned now because I believe you're one of the founding members of the Damned,
Yeah.
um, together with Dave Vanian and Captain Sensible. You all have all these aliases or nicknames. Is that like a thing in those days, like with Sid Vicious and Johnny Rotten? Is that like
Well,
a
it
punk thing?
yeah, and it was like I said, just being able to sign on and have an alias was quite a big advantage, to be honest. And I think
Yeah,
that was a lot of the reason. But also, it was funny. They weren't.
like real names.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was always a sense of humour about punk that's often overlooked. And when you sort of think Johnny Rotten, it's like it's a funny name. You know, Rat Scabies is a funny name. Captain Sensible is a funny name.
Yeah.
They're all very, there's a kind of a humour that goes with it, which is what I think is one of the things that a lot of people miss about punk is that it's funny.
It's
Things work
yeah.
out. You have funny and not funny, and, and generally speaking, punk was funny. I mean, not always.
No, yeah, yeah,
Like the
yeah.
Ramones, funny. Patti Smith, not funny.
Well, Neil Barker said that he got into the Dam when he was 12 with the Phantasmagoria album. He soon went back and bought the earlier stuff and loved it all. And his favorite album is Strawberries. I think is that your third or fourth album? I think
I
Strawberries.
think it was four.
Fourth album.
Don't
Yeah,
remember.
because the Damned just actually did a lot of firsts in punk. Like New Rose is the first ever punk single, I believe. And your first album, Damn, 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 that was the first punk album. And also, apparently, you were the first British punk band that toured America.
Yep,
So
all
it's
true.
not Sex Pistols, it's the Damned.
Well, yeah,
Wow.
you know,
Because,
the-
you know,
I think because we were with a smaller record company and we weren't really interested in signing to a major company. And I think because we were on Stiff, they were able to do things very quickly. And they would say, okay, let's go, we'll put you in the studio next week, and then they make it work. Whereas, corporates have to wait for a long time for their place on the pressing machines and stuff like that. And it has to go through many departments. Whereas at Stiff, you go in and have one conversation and then everything would happen. It's very exciting.
Oh,
But
wow.
that's how, we kind of were the first with so many different things, was because we were able to move much faster than anyone else.
Yeah. Because you had to, forgive me, coming originally from the Philippines, the first time I've heard of the Dam was the song Eloise.
Mm-hmm.
And you were already so like a goth band by that time. It's, you're not so like a part of that Sex Pistols and I can't remember what the name of it. Buzzcocks or something. So
Well,
you're like a goth band by Eloise came out.
Well, first of all, I think Dave Vanian has always looked the way he does. He's always had that kind of darkness about him and things, and I'd say he's probably the first goth ever. But that doesn't necessarily. I don't know. If Phantasmagoria was a gothic album or not really. I know that it was. The Damned always were very aware of and got bored very easily and never wanted to repeat itself. That's why no two albums are the same, because you don't do this so you can do the same thing for the rest of your life. You do it so you can grow, move on, keep getting better at it, and filling your time in a good way, rather than just trying to sick back up, something that's already a winning formula.
Yeah,
so,
that's right. Yeah.
So there's always been, a big departure from the previous record that we made. And Phantasmagoria was really, it was with Roman Jug in the band at the time, it was time to, take on board where we were and what we'd just done and what we should be doing next.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of lineup changes in the Damned, because I also know that I think is it a couple of years or just 1 year that you were not in the Damned, and John Moss played drums. Did you know John Moss at all? Were you?
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I met him.
So what was the reason why you left? And then John Moss took over.
I got very disillusioned with what we were and what we were becoming. And all the things that I'd enjoyed about the first album weren't really there for the second. And we were constantly touring, never had any money. And it was I just thought, this isn't really what I signed up for, And the songs, Brian didn't have the same kind of output with his material. The phrase is a lifetime to write the first album and 2 months to write the second. And we were suffering from that. And I think really, with the benefit of hindsight, we should have stopped after the first album and taken a year off and just to sort of go away and regroup a bit. But instead of that, we worked constantly and never really had the chance. And it was like being on a merry-go-round that was going too fast. You want to get off, but it's very difficult to. And you don't know when it's going to stop. So you just think, well, it might as well be now as any other time.
Yeah.
So I bailed. And it was, I think it was good the band kept going. I think, John did an admirable job for the time he was there, bless him.
Yeah. Well, Lol told us once that all drummers are friends. So would you say that's true? That all drummers are friends?
I generally Not really. I don't like competition. The last thing I can stand is if there's a good drummer on the bill. It's like, oh no, I want someone who's really bad, and that way I'll look much better when I get up there.
Well, Catherine said that she thinks the change in style allowed the band to carry on and keep all the fans interested in what's next, which is true. Yeah, that is true. So talking about Eloise, there was a film in 2015 about the Damned. It's called "Don't You Wish That We Were Dead," and I remember going to the film screening in Manchester. John Robb was the one who's doing the Q&A with the director Wes Orszowski, and the one thing that I remember the most about that film is when they showed Eloise, a clip of Eloise, and some of the fans started booing. And I think, and I was like, oh my God, that was the best bit about it. Because, like I said, it's my introduction to the Damned, and I really love that Top the Pops performance.
The thing is no one can tell us what to do. Nobody has that right. They don't have the right to say, well, we don't like this because it's not what we like. That, it's a very narrow kind of way of viewing the world. And if we were all like that, then it would be a much more boring place. You have to be able to go out on a limb sometimes, and you have to see things in another light in order to progress, And I don't know, nobody can really tell anybody what to do. And maybe, it's okay, they can voice an opinion that they don't like that one particularly, and not everybody did. But if everybody liked everything I did, I'd be in a much better place than this.
But would you say that's the era of the Damned that you lost some fans?
Maybe not. But I would add that was also the band's most successful period. We sold more records in that time than at any other point. We had more hits, singles. We had, we were playing much bigger venues. It was, maybe some people said this isn't New Rose or the first album, or, but actually there were a lot more people that said, hey, we prefer this.
Oh yeah, I did. But now I've actually gone back and listened to all the punk ones. Eloise, I've recently discovered, because when I started collecting records, I found a copy of Barry Ryan's Eloise, and I didn't know about this. I didn't know about it. I just thought, oh, Eloise is the same title as the Damned's Eloise. So I bought a copy of it because it was only like 20p for a 12-inch single, so I thought I'll get it. And it's the same one. It's the same. So
well, we did take out the boring bit in the middle. Yeah, well,
But was that like a conscious? I mean, it was like a conscious. Because in 1968, apparently that song.
The interesting thing is, I found a copy of Sniffing Glue. You remember the punk fanzine?
Yeah.
And it was one of our first interviews, and Dave says in that one day he would like to cover Eloise. Now that was in 1976.
Oh wow!
So even then, Dave was thinking about covering that song because his taste in music was broad even then. So when we just finally got around to doing it, that was.
Yeah. Well, another cover that you did is Love's Alone Again. Oh, I remember seeing that on MTV.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good because I watched it again last night. Because the one thing that I noticed is you all look really tall. You all look like you've been stretched, like with really long legs. And
who knows what was going on?
What was that? So that was filmed in somewhere in America, in the desert or something?
It was filmed at a place called Broken Hill in Australia,
Oh, Australia. Right. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, boy, that was nowhere. It was it's the end. The road goes. You fly into this very small airport, and then the road goes from tarmac to dirt, and then you're at this quite famous pub, or it looks like a pub, where they used to do Castlemaine 4X beer adverts from it. And so that's there, and then the rest of it is just this big, big open space that seems you can feel the weight of it almost. It's quite something. So we spent the day there getting covered in flies and burning in the sun, and a lot of dust
And a lot of walking. A lot of walking in the desert.
and a lot of walking. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you're back in the dam, I mean, you've been away for 30 years. You
Well,
haven't been back.
26.
I mean, it's not like you've not done anything because you have been really busy. But before I ask about all those years that you were in the dam, um, Jazz Bartley, I think he's a drummer, and he sent a message and saying that you've always been an inspiration for drumming long before he started playing drums. So he is a drummer, even though he struggles to play that fast. So he said, "Thank you so much." Like I said, fastest drummer in punk. But he has a question for you, um, and I think this is from the new album, Darkadelic, because his question is, what exactly are you playing during the manic vocal section of The Invisible Man? He said that it sounds straight, but I'm not certain it actually is.
Well, I will say, first of all, I'm not on that record.
Oh, you know, but you did play The Invisible Man live.
We have played it live, and when it comes to that section, I have to I have to switch from. Uh, I just have to switch the upbeat to the right hand and not the left, and it's kind of a backwards disco beat.
Oh,
Is
okay.
what I do to bluff my way out of it, which kind of sounds, yeah, yeah. I,
Yeah.
I have to switch my technique a bit. I have to change hands. So I have to go from leading with the left to leading with the right.
Okay. Well, I hope Jez Botley's watching. That's his question.
Yeah.
And again, Neil said that it's great to have you back in the band. I've got also another question, but this time it's not from the latest tour, but it's from the Anything tour. This is like 1986, I think,
Yeah.
86 or 87. Well, John Tarbett Walker, he's a fellow Soup Dragons fan. He said that he'd love to know what happened at the whole city hall on your Anything tour. Apparently, the fans were told that you got stuck in the lift coming down from the
Yeah.
dressing room to the stage,
Yes,
and
we
then they
did.
got a repeat set from Blue in Heaven.
That's absolutely true.
You got stuck in the lift?
Yeah. It was a freight lift. And all the band, tour manager, and a couple of security guys. And it just stopped between floors.
Oh, God.
So it took quite a while to get out. And in the end, we had to climb out because it's very dangerous because if the lift starts to move, you get cut in half. So, yeah, I don't know why it broke down, but it did.
It's really scary.
Well, not really. I mean, it's not scary. It's just like
It's like a horror film.
you all just sort of stand there, and you can hear the audience. Yeah.
But you did manage to do the show.
Yeah,
After.
yeah, I think we did. Yeah, I'm sure we did. Well, I remember we all climbed out, and yeah, so we must have all been okay.
Wow. I mean, I remember Blue in Heaven. I think they're like a new wave band,
Kind
maybe.
of, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Neil wanted to know what was it like supporting Marc Bolan and T Rex in '77, the year Marc Bolan died. Also, is it true that you and the other band members were in the Top of the Pops audience that year, watching Mark's final appearance on the show?
I wasn't at the Top of the Pops thing. Captain may well have been. She used to go there a lot, but Marc Bolan was really good. We travelled with him on the bus. His band were just really, something else. It was Herbie Flowers who played bass on Walk on the Wild Side. Tony Newman, he was the drummer. He played Diamond Dogs and Bowie and all of those kind of people. They were just great fun. They'd sort of done everything, And,
Yeah.
they took really good care of us. Mark took good care of us as well. He made sure we had everything we wanted and that we were being looked after. And it was a good thing to have done. I'm very pleased that we did do it.
Oh, yeah. It's really sad what happened. What happened to him, but it's just life, I suppose.
No,
But
yeah, sadly, it is.
yeah, yeah. Apparently, he liked punk. He liked punk music. So
I think he liked the fact it was a youth movement. I think he enjoyed that, and I think he saw good. I think he saw a lot of potential, and I think he liked the simplicity of punk because what Mark did was also very simple. So
yeah,
I think I think he definitely related to it.
yeah, yeah. Um, I was saying earlier that when you were in the dam, because you left in 1995, but
Mm.
you were so busy. I found out that you were actually on so many, even so many bands, and also done lots of things, not just music. Um, but anyways, can we just like, I know we wanted to say it's only for an hour, but can I start with the Sinclairs? I mean, this is from your website because you've got a brilliant website as well, ratscabies.com, I think. So it's can I start with the Sinclairs, which is you released your second album only last year.
Yeah, yeah. It's me and a friend of mine, also known as Billy Shinbone, and I've known him for many, many years. And one day he just said we should make a sort of punky surf record. So I said yes, that would be good. So we went and did it, and it sounded all right, but it was just a drummer and a guitar player. And then he turned up with this sort of 30 quid synthesizer. So yeah, he turned up with this. And
Oh
he,
God!
and he said, "That's what's missing off the album." So I started playing with it and messing with it, and we started to find that actually it went from just being a couple of good musicians playing. We started to find a better depth to what we were doing. It started to become much more interesting, and we brought in some other instruments, and theremins and all the classic sort of stuff.
Yeah,
And we did that, but and it sort of turned into something with a personality of its own. I think. But it's still basically, twangy guitars and drums. But
yeah. And you're still gonna carry on with the Sinclairs even though you're now
oh
permanently
yeah,
in town.
yeah. I've got a few weeks off, so I don't know if we've got time to do the third album. Maybe we have. We were talking about it, but we've already got, songs on the go and ideas for it and stuff.
Oh
So,
wow!
so
Well, and then, yeah,
but no, the only drag with the Sinclairs was COVID, because the first album came out with the first wave of COVID. So there were no record shops were open. The record companies hadn't really started doing mail order, so it just sort of died. And then when the second album came out, of course, we were still in the same situation where you couldn't get enough vinyl to make records and things like that. So that sort of slowed it right down again. So we put out 2 great albums, I think, and sadly, we've been unlucky.
Yeah, but do you think maybe next year you'll be doing some gigs, like Sinclairs gigs, or?
I hope to. It'd be nice to, but it really depends on what the Damned are up to.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have to, but I'm trying to fix it so we can work things between, because your hands get weak if you don't.
Right, well, another one is 1,000 motels, yeah. And you also released an album in 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's me and a bloke called Chris Constantine, who used to play bass with Sinead O'Connor and Adam Ant and people like that. And we had a project before 1,000 Motels called The Mutants. And we did about 4-5 albums, I think. And they were all, really good records. I'm really pleased I made them. They were a lot of fun. We had a lot of special guests, like when we went to Japan, we had the 5, 6, 7, 8 guests and loads of other people whose names I should remember, but I don't. And then when we ended up in Joshua Tree working with, Chris Goss and Dave Catching and Sean Wheeler and those kind of desert folk.
Yeah.
Just, I'm really pleased with the music I made. I still listen to it. That's my sort of judgment on whether it's any good or not. Do I enjoy listening to it? And if I don't, then I don't really want to be involved if it's not something that I can't play back and feel good about.
But these projects, are you still continuing with them, or
on and off?
On and off. Yeah.
There's been a few issues, with health and things like that. Not mine, but so things had to take a bit of a backseat for a little while.
Yeah.
But hopefully.
Yeah, because the other one is Professor and the Madman, which again on Google, apparently you just happened to join them by accident because you were in the audience when they were playing, and then they asked you.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was. I was in California staying with some friends of mine, and they invited me to this sort of party at this club where everybody wears dreadful Christmas pullovers and sweaters. The ones with all the reindeer on. And and they sort of have a competition as to who's got the worst sweater.
Oh, right.
And it just so happened Professor and the Madmen were going to play that night. And they asked me if I'd go out and play a song with them. So I did. And then, one thing led to another, and I played on a track for them. And then because of the way technology works these days, they send me files and I go into the studio and put the drums on and then send them back. And they're very big Damned fans. And then they said, well, that's great. We're really pleased with what you've done on the album. What do you think if we get Paul Gray in to put some bass on it? So I said, yeah, and they did, and Paul was there, and it was all part of the kind of, I suppose in a way, part of Return to the Damned, working with Paul again like that.
Yeah.
We did this show. I think it kind of made it a bit smooth, bit of a smoother ride.
And did now become a member of that band or collaborate or member?
No, we did one gig, which was at the 100 Club, and they came over. And they only wanted to play one show, and that was it. So we did that, but they're in California, so I'm here, and it's that's the way it is. But it's it's another one. I like the songs that they make. I like the thing, I like the vibe they got, and I think they're good at it.
Yeah. Another one is Rat and the Whale.
Oh, that's years ago.
Okay. So is this like before or is it in the 80s or
I don't
90s?
know, late 70s, I think.
Late seven. Okay.
Look, yeah, that was my wife, Vivian. And also the guitar player from the Tom Robinson band, Danny Custo, was playing on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just went into a studio. It was just seemed like a fun idea. So we went there.
There's actually some really interesting bands or projects that you were in. Like one of them is like the Vicious White Kids, and
Mhm.
that's with Sid Vicious and Glenn Matlock together. So you, Glenn Matlock, and Sid Vicious.
Mhm.
What was that like? It's almost like a dream. So like a
Well,
dream
kind of.
band.
Well, we had Steve New playing guitar on that. It was the original. I think he was originally in the Pistols, or one of the early candidates, that's for sure. And Glenn had stayed in touch with him. He was a really amazing guitar player. And yeah, it was Glenn and Sid wanted to show there wasn't really any animosity between them,
Oh,
and that actually, there wasn't a problem, and they were quite amazing. They thought the best way to do that would be to do a gig together. Sid
yeah.
was moving to New York and wanted to make some money out of it if he could. So, you know, I was there when they had the idea. So I got called in as
You
a
guys
band
want,
drummer.
yeah. And also doing like with Lemmy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Lemmy's a legend as well, isn't it? So like you did, is it Les Punks or Les Punks?
They punk,
Les Punks.
but Lemmy was always around a lot when we were in Portobello Road and hanging out in Notting Hill Gate. Lemmy was often there, and he was an MC5 fan, and so were we. So we sort of knew that he was kind of okay and not just another hippie. And then over the years, we got to know him more and more and better, and then we did Les Punks, and we made a single with him, I think.
Yeah.
And they were people that you see around, and you always had time for a chat, and you'd go and hang out, and
There was an article that I read. Is it true that it was Lemmy who actually kept the dam going, or that you didn't split up because it was Lemmy who encouraged you to carry on and do it? Is that true? Or it's not really.
When are we talking about?
I don't know. maybe it's not like late 70s or something.
Yeah, he was always very pro the Damned, and I think he truly liked the band and what we did, and I think he saw a sort of something in us that maybe not everybody did, and so he was always very keen for us to keep going and keep doing.
Yeah. Well,
That's-
all these bands and projects they're all on your website. But the one thing that I've noticed that's not on your website is your solo project, because you released an album called PhD.
Mm-hmm.
It's PhD, which is short for Prison Hospital Death.
Yeah.
what a title!
Well, I'd never get a PhD any other way. So,
Oh, right. So that's why. Okay. So that was released in 2018.
mm-hmm.
And I listened to the first track, which is "Chew on You." That's fantastic. That's really because it was you singing.
No, I don't think I am. No, that's Billy Shinbone singing.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're playing the drums, so it wasn't
And well, I play the guitars as well,
right. Okay,
and I think the keyboards, and Billy just sings on that one.
right. Okay, so yes, it's really good that PhD album. Okay, so that's about the music bit, and I wanted to just talk about all the non-music bit, which on your website you also does cigar box guitars and amps. I mean, this is
Mm,
absolutely amazing. I had a look at all those photos. These are
right.
working guitars and working amps, right?
Yeah,
And,
but there wouldn't be much point if they
and
didn't.
just sort of like decorations or
Yeah,
anything. I mean, do you sell them? Do you?
I did. I've stopped doing it now, but it was an accident. My son came home from work one day with a cigar box, and he said, "Here you are. You know, I thought you might like this." And I looked at it, and I happened to have some wood on the on my porch and a few guitar parts, and it just something triggered and said, you know, they used to make guitars like out of this, and that's really where the whole blues thing comes from, much more than having a six-string guitar. And so I sat and looked at these pieces that I had for about 2 days, and it was very contemplative. It was very good for me, and suddenly having to solve issues that you'd never had to think about before. And so I went ahead and made the first one, which is the one I use on Chew on You, by the way, just out of interest.
Oh wow!
And then somebody saw it and said, "I've got some cigar boxes. If you make me a guitar, you can have the other two boxes." So I did that, and I made the other two into guitars, and then somebody bought those from me. So then I got some more, and then it kind of kept on going, and so I got sort of bored with the therapy. You know, it started to become what I used to really enjoy was solving the problems. You know, you'd sort of split the wood, or it wouldn't be quite long enough, and you'd then have to resolve this issue. And it was the problems that I used to enjoy the most. And then when it came to the end of it, you know, really, I was just kind of, I know this is how this works. If I do this, this has to be this size, and that has to be, and it became very uniform and a lot less fun. So
Oh, I see. So you don't do it anymore?
no, no,
Oh.
just, well, you know,
Do you get people asking you for if they can buy someday off you, like
yeah,
an
people do, but
guitar? Yeah.
I I don't have any, you know,
You don't,
I'm not
yeah.
making. And also they became very, very fashionable, and a lot of people suddenly, you know, trying to, you, you, you know, you couldn't get a nice looking cigar box for cheap anymore. You had to pay a lot of money to get the ones that
Oh,
work best, and it
yeah.
just became that everybody and their grandmother was making guitars out of cigar boxes, and it was, you know, it's really just, you know, because I didn't want it to be an expensive thing. I wanted it to be an affordable way of learning to play, because they're really good fun, because you don't need to know chords or anything, because everything's just done with a slide. So all you have to do really is get it into some kind of tuning, and then you
Wow.
can just play with it. And it's much more sort of dynamic. You know, if you want something quiet, you play it quietly. If you want something loud, you play it loudly, as opposed to putting on a foot switch and
Yeah.
having it jumping out at you. So it was a great thing to do, and I'm really pleased I made them, and I'm really pleased I did it. But I stopped in the end because it just become, you know, silly.
Well, like I said, the photos are absolutely amazing. If anyone wants to see all those photos of the amps and the guitars, they're all on your website, so they can have a look and see it. Also, I got someone, Jazz Bartley again. He got me into this acting that you did recently. It's a Netflix series called Black Doves.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually watched that bit. Were you only on episode one, or were you on other?
Yeah.
Just on
Oh, yeah.
episode one.
Yeah. That's, you know, that's me done. I'm not an actor. I just,
Have you done any acting before this, or?
small bits and pieces, you know, in an Australian gore movie called Rib Spreader. I play a priest in that, and I've done a couple of bits, but you know, Not very much,
Yeah.
really.
Well, Jess Bartley said that you suited the role in Black Doves, and which I agree because I didn't watch the full episode. I just looked for the part where you were in, and you're so natural. It's one of the, it's and I don't know if anyone watching has seen this, but you've got to see episode 1 of Black Doves, especially for your bit there. A character called Bingo. That was amazing. But you've done stage shows apparently, because with Jane Horrocks, this "If You Kiss Me, Kiss Me." That
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that was a few years ago now. Do you not do it anymore?
Well, that was Jane's show. You know, she put that together based on because she's from Manchester or thereabouts. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
she wanted to do a show with all of the records from Manchester that had influenced her and been part of her life. And so, yeah, it was a great thing to do again. I'm so lucky sometimes because Jane's really good. I met her through her ex-husband, who was teaching me about script writing, and she went into the studio, asked me if I'd play drums on a couple of tracks for her, which I did. And then the next thing was they had this whole kind of West End musical going on, which
So you
so
were on it.
yeah. So it was just playing the drums really, but it was very cool because there was a lot of reinterpretations of old songs. We kind of changed the approach to some of them and the way they came.
Yeah.
Different meaning, and it was, just to be able to say that some Western music was quite posh. I'm running out of things that I can do now.
I'm really surprised at all these things that you've done, and I mean, I don't think you stopped at all. Because another one that really surprised me is there's a book, and also I think it's a TV series called Scabies and the Hunting for the Holy Grail. Was that a TV show?
No, it wasn't. There was a couple of pilots got made because people thought it might be a good idea, but it never became a TV show.
But there's a book that came with it as
well. The book came first, really, and it's journalist who used to write for the Melody Maker, Chris Dawes. He moved into the house opposite me, and I cut myself. No, you probably can't. Anyway, I cut myself. There's a scar down there when I was carving some wood. And
cool.
I couldn't use my thumb. So I used to ask him to come over and roll joints for me. And while he was doing that, I'd give him cups of tea and I'd tell him about this village in France with this priest and all the money and the treasure and secret societies and conspiracies and murders and all kinds of interesting stuff. And gradually he got more and more involved in the stories I was telling him.
Yeah.
Until one day his agent said, you really should write this down. So he did. That's what he did. He started writing it down, and we were just before the Da Vinci Code. But I think the publishing world knew that the Da Vinci Code was coming, and it was going to be a very fashionable topic. So we were very lucky. We had two publishing companies that wanted to publish it. And that was before it had even been written. And it was kind of, okay, give us the money. We're going to the south of France. And we're going to drink lots of good wine and good food. And we're going to go looking for the Holy Grail. And we'll see what we can find that's part of the story.
So what happened? Did you find it? Did you find the Holy Grail?
Well, it depends on what you think it is. if you think it's an actual object, then no, we didn't. But if you think it's one of your sort of spiritual voyages through life, and it's a journey, and the actual Grail isn't the end of your story; it's the journey to get to it. That's the valuable part. It's the lessons that you learn and the things that you experience on that journey. That's what I think it comes down to.
Are you a religious person?
No, not at all. I don't believe in anything.
Yeah. Because I saw I saw that clip on YouTube that apparently there's like a tomb and it's at Mary Magdalene's body that was there. So, but is that real or
a lot of people think it is? Yeah.
Gosh. Are you going to be doing anything more about that? Are you going to go back to the French Pyrenees?
I do. I like to go there whenever I can, just because I love the countryside and the food and everything else that goes with it. Yeah. And there's some amazing places down there. But they've. I think they've, probably hidden the treasure properly now, and I think it's a bit. It's been when the Da Vinci Code turned up, it suddenly kind of lifted the roof off the place, and everybody went there, and so a lot of things were changed in the village that you used to be able to go and look at that had been left behind by the priest, the millionaire priest.
Yeah.
So it became very big and successful, and that was sort of what killed it, which is the way it usually goes.
But you came out of it, so like there is, like what you said, it's not really an actual cult.
Yeah,
it's more the spiritual experience.
Well, and also more practical things like part of the story is we went to the Louvre museum, and I'd never been to anywhere like that before.
Yeah.
And when you walk through it and you start looking at the paintings and what's going on, you realise how amazing they are. But if you don't go, you'll never find that out. And I would never have gone if it hadn't been for the fact it was part of the story of the priest. There's one specific painting that we went to see, But on the way to seeing that painting, there were so many other amazing things. And, I'm very grown-up subject, kind of, you forget that history is made up of sex and violence, just like the world is today. And, people were actually very good at portraying that. And it was just, one of those things, you don't think you're going to like it, and you don't think it's going to have anything of interest to you there. But on the way to where you want to go, you find out there's actually a lot more that's been going on than you think.
Yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah.
But I'd never have done that if it hadn't have been for looking for something else.
Well, is it something that you'd recommend to people to go?
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you only go once.
Yeah.
Just to see what somebody can do with a paintbrush.
Wow. But, right. Well, I know it's over now, but we're just going to go back to the Damned and what's next for the Damned. Because Neil was saying that he's so looking forward to seeing you at the Forever Now festival in Milton Keynes, because you're doing another festival in June next year. You're one of the headliners in Forever Now.
Yeah.
So will there be another tour, the Damned tour?
We're what are we doing? So far as I know, in February we're going to South America, Chile, Brazil, Lima. But I always forget the name of it. It begins with a B and it's got two. I'm so terrible in my memory.
Any chance of going to the Philippines for your fans?
If we get asked, we may well do so. And then in May, I think we're going to America again to play the places that we didn't get to play this time around. But we're I think 76 is probably going to be our big year because that's the 50-year anniversary of the band and punk rock. So I think we're just sort of going to be working around the edges.
Yeah. Do you still enjoy touring, going to all these like different places all over the world?
Yeah, I do actually. It's not always easy to get around. It's not always easy to work out the language or the local currency, but it's I it's you can the older you get, the more you appreciate your surroundings and where you are and what kind of went into it. Whereas when you're young, you don't really notice anything much. But the older I get, now of course with the whole Grail thing, I've sort of churches, architecture, blah,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah, and all of those things. I appreciate that stuff a lot more now.
Do you get a chance to travel when you're doing a tour? Do you
Not
get like time off, or to
not
see
much,
the sights?
but we kind of swing it so we tend to stay in the centre of town. So it means that at least you can go for a couple of hours and stroll around and have a look at the place a bit more than you would normally you're 10 miles outside and it's
Yeah, yeah,
you don't get that opportunity. But yeah, we don't really get a lot of free time. So
yeah. Any new album for next?
um, not yet.
No. Okay.
Well, let's put it this way. We're talking to each other. The tour went so amazingly well. The band's getting on so incredibly well. Everything's good. The management seem in place and supportive of whatever we want to do next. So obviously, I think we're going to see what we can come up with, if we can come up with anything. And if it works, then that'll be great. If it doesn't, then at least we found out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've only got the regular questions I wanted to ask you now. This I always ask the drummer guests. First of all, when you play drums, do you twirl? Do you do
Not,
this twirling
I
stick?
used to, but I've got this kind of arthritis thing in my hands now, so I can't do as much of that as I used to.
Oh,
I can occasionally throw one in the air and catch it, but that's about it.
oh, right. Well, it's still good, but you don't normally do that twirling
No,
anymore. Well, a lot of people said that you're one of their inspiration, drumming hero. But do you have drumming heroes yourself?
yeah, I think so. But I, I prefer to be like a sponge and soak it up rather than say, well, that's the guy that I got the most from. I think there was two drummers on an album, like Kenny Clare and Ronnie Stevenson, and I listened to their album again, which was one I used to have when I was a kid. But when I
Yeah.
listened to it recently, I realised how much of an influence what I'd heard on that record was on what I do. But otherwise, I kind of, anything with drums, like I say, Sandy Nelson, Dave Clark Five, Ginger Baker, that's the kind of Gene Krupa, that's kind of the list that
Yeah.
they've all got something that I can copy.
Any
And
punk drummer that
I think, when it comes to punk drummers, I think Topper was probably
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I always liked what he always had great ability.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um what about drumming disasters? I know that you cut but that's not from drumming, that's from chopping wood, right? When you cut your
Yeah.
hand. Have you ever had any drumming disaster while you're playing with the band, or
Yeah, things go wrong sometimes. Yeah, cymbals fall over, and
nothing major?
I mean,
Was
I think one of the worst things is sitting there with a whole kit and not having a tuning key.
oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, I found that out that you actually tuned. So it's
Cool.
not just the drum kit doesn't just come there ready for the
No,
drummer to play.
no, it takes a bit more than that. You know,
So do you do that yourself, or you have a drum tech to do it
I,
for you?
my drum tech at the moment is amazing. He's great. He does. I never have to move anything or adjust anything or tune even. He pretty much keeps it how I do it. But I always do it the first time and get it the way I like it, and then maybe the occasional tweak here and there, but generally speaking, I do it, and that's how it stays. I'm too finicky about it. I can't.
So you always keep a drum key in your pocket or whatever.
Always, there's always one on my keyring.
Oh,
Always.
is that something that you'd like to give, like advice? What would be your advice to aspiring drummers? Would that be one of them? Always keep a drum
Well,
key or something.
I tell you, it don't hurt.
So, oh my god. So yeah, aspiring drummers or musicians, any advice that you want to give to them?
No, not really.
Is it easy nowadays to be in a band and
Well,
try to
I
make
think
money?
I think the problem is nobody can make any money anymore. I think it's too difficult to, there's no record companies like there used to be. You can't put anything out. Vinyl, even though they say it's selling very well, it's still not enough to keep, sustain a band. And I think it's so difficult for any young band that I find it amazing there are any. And I'm sure there are. And there must be. It's essential that they come back for more somehow. But I think the only advice you can give is that, don't please anyone except yourself.
That is brilliant. Yes, that is true. Because you've got to do it. You do it for yourself, and because you love what you're doing. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my god. Thank you so much. I was like, I still can't believe you said yes. Because when I was there, I really want to say thank you, so massive thank you to the Soup Dragons for taking me as their merch girl at the festival. Because I didn't just so dodge the security and talk to the performers, but thank you, and I'm so glad that you said yes to Ask the Drummer, and hope you have a very, very happy Christmas.
Thank you. And
yeah,
no, go on.
yes, see you hopefully next year. I mean, I would like to go to that Forever Now festival, but if you're touring next year, I would like to go and see you play live.
All right. Well, I'll see you there.
And anything else you want to say to the listeners of Ask the Drummer?
No, just thanks. It's nice it's nice to be in thinking.
Oh, thank you so much, and
Thank you.
all the best for the new year and everything. I mean, the Down fans are so happy that you're back, and I'm sure we'll hear more from. Hopefully, there'll be a new album or whatever. So
We're not done yet.
yeah. And thank you to everyone who joined us as well. So see you.
See you around.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Oh my god, that was so good. I can't believe it. I'm still so in shock that he said yes to us, the drummer. But anyways, thank you all so much who joined us, especially to Neil. God, I'm really glad that you're here, and thank you for all your questions. I'm sorry I didn't get to read all of them, all your messages, but yeah, right. Oh my god, I'm so happy. Yeah, we'll be back. This is the Sunday before Christmas. It's only 3 days till Christmas. So a very, very happy Christmas to all of you. And hopefully we'll be back with maybe not just one, but not just two, but 3 drummers next week before the new year. Fingers crossed. I still have to wait for confirmation from them. But Gosh, I also want to say happy birthday to Brian Grantham. It's his birthday today. Uh, hope you're enjoying your day and hope you're watching us, drummer, as well. And once again, I also want to say massive thank you to the Soup Dragons, Ross Sinclair. I'm sorry to hear about your dad, but thank you so much for asking me to be your merch girl for that tour last summer. I do believe that things happen for a reason. I wasn't supposed to be there, but that's the way it is. I was supposed to be there to meet rap Scabies. So thank you so much. And yeah, I think that's it. Happy Christmas, everyone. And as always, love music, love life, love drummers. Rat Scabies legend. Oh my god, I'm so happy. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Scabies. And I'll see you all again next week before the year ends. So okay, bye for now. Bye.